Yeah, all right. In this episode, we are going to be covering Jersey Girl made in 2004, and you will learn how stepping away from Kevin Smith's unusual style shaped the fate of Jersey Girl, how the surprising power of real-world publicity can impact a movie for better or worse, and you'll also learn why embracing individuality might just be the secret to building stronger, more meaningful relationships. Welcome to the Fandom Portals Podcast, the podcast that explores how fandoms can help us learn and grow. This week, Brash and I are tackling the Kevin Smith classic Jersey Girl made in 2004. It is a movie about a widower who must look after his precocious daughter and rebuild his life and career after he's sidelined by an unexpected tragedy and a personal blow-up. Before we get into that, we're going to do our gratitudes. Brash, how are you going today?
I am very good. I was actually trying to find something from the movie I could quote on my entrance and intro in, and unfortunately...
That's okay, because you're the only thing I've ever been good at.
Oh,
yeah, got it.
Nice. I was going to go the line from one of the only lines I found really funny from when the kids have to, at the very start, when the kids are doing like their...
Don't tell? Oh, talking about their parents' jobs?
And the one kid's like, oh, Mike, your parents are very religious. I could hear him screaming, oh, Jesus. I was like, ah. But yes, no, anyway.
What are you grateful for, Brash?
What am I grateful for? I am grateful for my neighbors this week. I had to go away for work for just a night, and they fed their little buddy Ace for me, and I'm always grateful. They're always there to help me out if I need it, or look after Ace when I need it, which isn't too often. And next time will be when we go to Melbourne to watch Critical Role, and that's 4 nights, 5 days being away from Ace. So I struggled one night. Let's see how I can go after 5 days.
I feel the same way, man. I feel the same way. Yeah, very excited for a Critical Role trip to Melbourne, but yeah, the time away from loved ones and loved pets and things like that is going to be tricky. My gratitude in the spirit of this movie, Jersey Girl, goes to my partner, Kalia. I've talked about her on the podcast before, but I'm very thankful for her. This movie, especially, and some of the themes in it, made me realize how lucky I am to raise children with a loving and devoted partner. So thank you, Kalia, for all that you do. Thank you for the sacrifices you make, and I love you very much. From Aaron.
No.
I need to tell you more. I do. I need to tell you more. And here I am selling it publicly to lots of people in front of Brash. So thank you very much. I love you, Kalia. All right. Enough of the sappy stuff. Let's get into a sappy movie.
Let's move on to the next sappy stuff.
So we're going to get into it right now, Brash, with Jersey Girl. Okay, here's the call sheet. This movie was directed by Kevin Smith. It was his 6th movie. It was also written by Kevin Smith. Do you know any other Kevin Smith movies, Brash?
I know nearly all of them, I believe.
Give us a few.
Chasing Amy.
Yes.
Clerks 2, Clerks 3, Jay and Silent Bob, and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Correct.
Then you got Mallrats, Duplex, Dogma, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes, Dogma rules.
Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which was all right.
There's a movie.
That's the ones I can think of. And sorry, it wasn't Jay and Silent Bob, it's Jay and Bob Strikes Back. That's the movie, not Jay and Silent Bob and then Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. But anyway.
I got a sneeze coming.
But good movies. Dogma, I love Dogma. Dogma's like one of my all-time favorite movies.
He's definitely got a style, which I think he did step away from for Jersey Girl. I saw an interview with him where he said that his mum was quite happy with this one because he stepped away from his usual language-rich type of movies where the 4-letter words are quite well practiced and the themes are also quite well practiced. So Kevin Smith's mother was very pleased with this one. This movie stars Ben Affleck. I have been on a Ben Affleck binge for the last month and a half. I'm trying to watch as many movies of Ben Affleck as I can. And some of you might say that is a monumentous feat because, you know, he has some really good movies and he also has some absolute trash movies and he has some that are very much in between. But I think he's a talented actor and also a talented filmmaker and a talented writer as well. So this one is one of his more grounded roles in a emotionally driven sort of movie. He is the leading character alongside Liv Tyler. He's also alongside George Carlin. What do you think of George Carlin, Brash?
I love George Carlin. The only time the most I've seen George Carlin is in Kevin Smith movies.
Yep.
It's the
comedy
most I've
specials.
seen him. Yeah. And I always loved George Carlin.
Yeah, I think he played a more serious role than what people were used to seeing him in, and Kevin Smith kind of wanted to show his acting chops in that space. This was the last movie that he was in before he unfortunately passed away. This one also has Jennifer Lopez in it for a brief period of time. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But it also starred Raquel Castro, who played Gertie, the young girl in this movie. Brash is on record as hating child actors.
Yep.
Unashamedly hating child actors.
100%.
Thoughts on Raquel Castro, just briefly?
Mostly annoying, sometimes all right.
As all 7-year-olds should be, mostly annoying, but sometimes all right. This budget was $35 million and it made $35.5 million worldwide. So it was considered a flop. So much so that it was nominated for a Razzie. Lots of Razzies. Do you know what a Razzie is, Brash?
Like the worst movie of the year or something?
Yeah, it's pretty much the opposite of the Oscar. It's called the Golden Raspberry Awards. So basically when people blow the raspberry to a movie, not a serious award show, it's a parody award show that honors the worst films. And Jersey Girl received nominations for the worst actor in Ben Affleck, worst supporting actress in Liv Tyler, and the worst on-screen couple with Affleck and Jennifer Lopez being nominated.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, they didn't win, but I think the public reception of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez influenced those votes at the time, which is a bit of a shame because this was a bit of a passion project and a personal project for Kevin Smith. And the fact that it wasn't so successful may have been something that he's reflected on in years to come. All right, let's get into our hot takes. This is our hot takes segment where we discuss our first thoughts of the media and unpack the boldest opinions from what surprised us to what split the room. We'll also highlight your hot takes from our threads and Instagram and Reddit communities. So if you want to get involved in that, check out the show notes below. This is your hot takes on Jersey Girl from 2004. Brash, what are your overall thoughts on the movie? When was the first time you watched this movie?
I think I actually watched it. My mum bought it, I think. And I decided to watch it with her in the lounge room. So I think I would have been about 14, 15.
I think I was a similar age. My introduction to this was a DVD. I don't know who bought it, but yes, I watched it as well. I think the first thing that stood out to me was the fact that I remember when this came out, there was a whole lot of buzz around Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, which we'll get into a little bit later. But Jennifer Lopez didn't appear in the film very much. No, she was cut pretty early out, taken to heaven, you might say, in childbirth.
She died.
Yeah, she did. I think this was a bit of a different movie for Kevin Smith to bring out. It was a love letter to fatherhood, so they say. And it was inspired by the fact that Kevin Smith himself had just had a child, Harley Quinn Smith. And I saw an interview with him talking about the inspiration for this movie, and he saw his wife playing with his daughter, and he thought to himself how lucky he was to have her and what it would be like to raise that child without her. And he wanted to explore that. And he wrote 50 pages of a script and put it to the side. And then a while later, he was talking to Ben Affleck at a 4th of July party at Ben Affleck's house. And Ben Affleck was just coming off a few sort of big Hollywood projects like Pearl Harbor, and he was marketing that movie out everywhere. And he just wanted to get to something a little bit more grounded, character driven, that was dialogue heavy. And Kevin Smith said, well, I've got something here that I've written. He handed the script over, or sent it over to Ben Affleck days later. And Ben loved the idea. He thought it was exactly what he needed to do. So he dove onto it, being frequent collaborators as well. So the two of them got working onto Jersey Girl. But did you enjoy it upon your first watch, Brash? Did you enjoy it on this watch? What were your thoughts?
Probably enjoyed it on the first watch more so than the second watch. Because on the first watch, I would have been 14, 15. I was still young and dreaming about the future, and it probably still hit me in the feels. And being from a family that's a broken family, I didn't really get to see my dad too. I don't get really to see my dad too often. So I think sort of hit a bit harder, not so much that my father was dead and not in my life at all, but he wasn't always in my life. So I think back then it probably hit me a bit. It probably was like a bit of a nicer watch. And also I'm a fan of Kevin Smith's work, and also Liv Tyler's in it. And being a teenage boy, that's always just a good watch. But yeah, this watch, however, it was like I didn't feel as emotionally towards it as I thought I would be. Like looking at for some reason, I know they're not that different in age, but for some reason, Ben Affleck just seems so much older than Liv Tyler for some reason. It almost seemed like Liv Tyler was almost a teenager and he was an adult.
Well, I think in the movie, he's in his mid-30s and she's telling him that she's 26, 27. So there is a bit of an age difference there.
I mean, yeah, but it seems a bit more like huge than that. It's like, because she's like, oh, I'm doing the college report. And it seems like she's just like just out of high school, like 18, 19 or something. And he's like in his 30s. Although, like, it's just like, because, and also like where she's very like spirited and happy and free and sort of flittery and stuff like that. And I don't know, it just seems the connection was just not there for me. Yeah, and then I'd forgot Jennifer Lopez was even in the movie. And honestly, I couldn't even tell it was her when looking at her until she spoke. And I'm like, it's Jennifer Lopez because she has the same voice and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good watch. Don't get me wrong. It was still a good watch. But for me, it just wasn't as impactful as it probably was back when I was younger. And now so that I'm in my 30s as well and don't have a family or anything like that I have to worry about, it sort of misses the mark for me, I guess, for me, because I don't like, unlike you with family, and obviously it would probably impact you a little bit differently. Me, it's just like, well, that's what you get for falling in love, you idiot.
My take was a little bit different to that. I did enjoy the movie, but for me, I was watching Ben Affleck come to a realization that I think is pretty obvious. So obviously he's trying to get his career on track, but in the process of that, he's also detracting away from his relationship with those people that love him a lot. And I think in my kind of life, I have positioned myself in a place where I can be there for my family as much as possible whilst also providing and, being the provider and the protector that I can be. So for me, it didn't really hit as an emotional realization that Ben Affleck's character of Ollie goes through. I didn't think the same thing that he did and go through the journey as he went through it. It was almost, for me, watching him catch up, I guess. And that might sound, arrogant or whatever, but I'm a very similar age to what Ollie is in this story. I'm a father of two as well. And I think that, it wasn't, and I'm not a aspirational businessman like he is in the music industry, but it wasn't so much of a hard shift for me, if you know what I mean. It was almost like a natural kind of shift into, like, it was difficult, it was tricky, but that shift about being aspirational with my work and then also fatherhood, like I've always tried to sort of balance them as best that I can and always prioritize fatherhood where I could, whilst also still providing. So for me, it was a little bit of annoyance watching Ben Affleck's character. And then I also, looking at some of the themes that were in this now, like watching this and seeing some of the themes about like how forward Liv Tyler's character is upon just meeting Ben Affleck's character, that was a little bit of a cringe for me as well when I was watching it. Like, everybody can have their own thing. That's fine, no judgment. But like, it just felt like a little bit forward for me. Like I felt a bit uncomfortable watching it, honestly, at my age now. So I like the movie. It's an enjoyable watch, and I think there's some definitely poignant themes in it that can be explored. But yeah, I'm the same as you. I didn't really enjoy it as much as I kind of did the first time I watched it, where it was a little bit more emotionally impactful. So yeah, similar vibes. Let's see what our threads had to say. Peruna, 2001, frequent commenter. I think we mentioned this person last week as well. So Peruna, thank you for continually commenting on our threads. They said, I remember a lot of drama outside of the movie with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, and also Kevin Smith's first move outside the Jay and Silent Bob universe. It's funny because everyone judged it because of Jiggly and didn't realize that J-Lo was only in it briefly. I liked it in which Kevin Smith had continued to make some serious things. I think I agree with some of what Peruna said, but I also disagree because I do like Kevin Smith's comedic stuff as well. And I have watched him say in interviews that this was like a stretch for him. It was him trying to flex his muscles to do something a little bit more serious, a little bit more grounded, something that was apart from the universe that he's usually known for. I think it's called the Askewniverse or Askewniverse. Yeah. And it's basically the universe that features those 5 interconnected movies with Jay and Silent Bob as recurring characters. The thing with that is Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith also said that he wanted to try and make a movie without the safety net of his past movies to help him. So a lot of times when he was writing gags or writing jokes, if he didn't know how to finish off a punchline, he could just slip in a gag or a reference to an old movie or an old character and rely on some of the work he'd done before. But he wanted to see if he could go without that in this Jersey Girl and tell a little bit more of a personal story about a message he wanted to portray. We have Hagen Gabriel, who says the little girl was funny. She should have had a career in commercials or something, and that they liked George Carlin in it as well. I think I can agree with all of those points. GC Sears says, I always had a soft spot for Jersey Girl, rewatched it a few years ago and still enjoyed it, though Liv Tyler's character and material hasn't aged well, as I discussed before. Yeah.
I sort of felt the same. Like, I love Liv Tyler. For me, it wasn't so much like uncomfortable. It was more like it just seemed forced to
I agree.
push the story along.
I think so too. And it was kind of exploring that. It was almost like a will he jump at it or will he not, to prove how dedicated he is to raising his child. Like the fabling test of morality for the character of Ollie. Will he jump at this chance or will he continue to raise his daughter and honor the connection that he had with his widowed partner or not? Like, that's kind of what it felt like for me. And then, you know, the manner in which of her forwardness, just, it also played into the part where she seemed like she was a little bit more spirited and a little bit younger than he was, because he'd already gone through a career upward trend in the music business and then a downfall, and then he'd then worked again. You know, the 7 years had passed as he was raising his daughter, and 7 years he was doing the street sweeper job. So yeah, it's just kind of displaced those two a little bit. We have Blackrock Joe, who was a fan of our D&D Valiant Odyssey show, and shout out to Joe if you're listening to this one, for following us over to our new podcast, you absolute legend. He says, not a horrible movie at all, and I can agree with that too.
Yep.
Outside of the Box podcast, which is Christine, who's guested on this show as well. She says,
hi, Christine.
Yeah, hi, Christine. It introduced her to Sweeney Todd, which is now one of her favorite musicals of all time.
One of my favorite musicals of all time as well. I absolutely love Sweeney Todd.
I love the movie adaptation of the musical starring Johnny Depp and Helena.
That was also extremely good as well.
Yeah. So I think this was actually my introduction to Sweeney Todd too, because I'd never heard of it prior as well. Sweeney Todd being the musical performance that Gertie and Ollie and her family does at the end of the movie in the third act. All right. Seems like mostly positive from our threads, that they say a lot of the same thing, where it's the movie was underrated at the time, but generally heartfelt and quite well liked. So let's see what our Reddit has to say. Yes, we have Cursed Snowman 5000 that says, I actually thought it was a pretty good movie and wish this was the avenue Kevin had gone down as a maturing director after leaving the Jay and Silent Bob stuff with Strikes Back. But sadly, that is not what happened.
And probably a good thing, because then we wouldn't have The Boys.
Did he write that or adapt it?
He's the one of the producers on it. Him and Cookie.
Oh, nice.
From Supernatural. Yeah.
Yep. So we have DFGDF. It says it's not his best movie, and as recent years have shown, it's definitely not his worst movie by a mile as well. Even if critics ripped it apart at the time, that was more about the Jennifer Ben thing that was going on, kind of right in the middle of his filmography, and a good middle quotist kind of movie for the recent decade, and the performances were fun. We also have a really, really long answer that comes from Noel Pill V2. And basically the summary of it says that they find Kevin Smith the only one that can really bring the heartfeltedness of a John Hughes movie into something that has dick jokes and Star Wars babble and characters that are older than 20. But he says that Jersey Girl doesn't really exemplify this, but it is genuinely a sweet movie, and that they remember it pretty fondly as well. So I think it's quite positively received now in 2025, but I don't think that was the case in 2004. Yeah, it's definitely the case in Rotten Tomatoes as well, the aggregate site. And they've basically given it a 42% on the tomato meter, and for the audience score, it's not much better, of 48%. So yeah. I think at the time it was definitely not well received, but now it is viewed a little bit more kindly. All right, with that, let's get into our Fandom Fact Face-Off. All right, the hosts go head-to-head with a trivia battle about the focused media, learning new facts along the way. When the hosts collectively gain 25 points from correct answers, we will give away a movie voucher to someone on our mailing list. Our mailing list link is at www.fandomportalspodcast.com, and we will send you one email every month with our newsletter and also any giveaway updates. So far, we have 9 points, which means we need 16 more before the giveaway activates. Brash, I might go first this time. All right. So this time, my question for you is, there was a major character and subplot that was almost entirely cut from the final film of Jersey Girl. Do you know who that character or actor was? They only appear briefly in this movie at the start and through the middle, but they did have a bigger part to play.
Not Jason Briggs, was it? Oh.
It was Jason Briggs, yeah. The co-worker played by Jason Briggs. He was the comic foil.
Yeah, I thought that he was meant to be a bigger part in this movie. Because he's just in his life, then out of his life, then back in his life.
Yeah, he kind of...
I thought like he'd be like, come visit him and shit like that or something like that.
Yeah, or stay friends.
Yeah.
I actually liked how he re-entered the movie where he said he's been waiting years
for a chance to help him out.
I thought that was very sweet. I thought that was really good. A way to re-enter him. So I didn't feel like his character was just there because that was pulled on the heartstrings for me. But it does say that Smith felt that the tone was too inconsistent for Briggs's character because he played almost the comic foil to Affleck's character and provided levity in the film in the heavier moments. And he wanted to do something heartfelt, so it didn't really fit the tone. And because of that inconsistently, a lot of his scenes were cut from the theatrical release, but you can see them on the deleted scenes of DVD extras if you want to as well. But Jason Briggs, obviously famous for playing Jim in American Pie. And I think this was actually during the time when American Pie was coming out, wasn't it? Because this is 2004. Yeah, and American Pie was pretty much around the same time. So he did have that tag along with him as well to be this comedic, comic relief kind of character. So he was cut completely. All right, so that's 1 point. You'll go, Brash.
My go. So in the movie, when Bennifer's character Ollie and Gertie are talking about the play that she wants to do for the school play, she talks about Cats, and then of course because Cats is no longer around, Best meets Todd, and Ben Affleck says, "Oh, are you sure it's a musical?" And he's like, "I remember once losing a bet and having to go see a show, a musical where they were all on roller skates. It was terrible. I had a terrible time." Do you remember, or do you know what musical they were talking about?
A musical on roller skates.
On roller skates.
I have no idea.
Pretty famous one.
Is it? Is it Rent?
It's not Rent.
Is it Hair?
No, it's not Hair. It's written by Andrew Lloyd Webber. Very famous.
Is it Starlight Express?
It is Starlight Express. Yes, about train. It's similar. It's very for me. It sort of seems like very similar vein of what like Cars 3 is. So an old style locomotive wants to try and test his mettle against the newer, upgraded locomotives, and it's about his journey on being a faster and better train than the new ones.
This would appeal to lots of different audiences, especially amongst those children who absolutely love trains, like Thomas the Tank Engine.
I have a friend in high school who absolutely loves trains.
Yeah,
we used to call him just Train Boy because he was just obsessed with trains. Like he actually ended up, when he went to uni in Melbourne, he'd go to the place where they have like the locomotives where they like take kids and that for rides on their trains. He used to go to that, and he used to drive the trains for the kids and everything like that around. And yeah, it was really good.
Very cool.
Very, very, very into it.
Lovely.
But I'm pretty sure, he is the composer.
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Andrew Lloyd Webber for Phantom of the Opera.
He is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus Christ Superstar. And School of Rock. You are correct. It was Starlight Express.
Okay. My next question. As we've discussed, the opinion of people over the film Jersey Girl has changed over time. Most notably, Kevin Smith has some personal regrets based on Jersey Girl. Do you know what one of the biggest regrets he has regarding this movie?
Asking Jennifer Lopez.
It has something to do with Jennifer Lopez, but that is not correct.
That's probably my own personal things. I'm not a big Jennifer Lopez fan. But, okay, so because is it because of the drama between Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez?
He did
I don't know.
something because of that. All of the stuff that was happening with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez at the time, he did something to his movie to try and accommodate for public backlash. Do you know what that was?
Is it to make him seem like they're all good when they weren't?
No. So basically, he had.
I don't know what the drama is between Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck because I just didn't give a shit.
Yeah. No. Basically, he made the movie about 30 minutes longer, and it had footage of about 30 minutes explaining the relationship between Ollie and Gertrude, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez's character. And it provided more emotional weight when she actually passed, and then also the connection that Ollie had with her as to why he loved her so much. So that sort of grounding emotional scenes between Gertrude and Ollie helped explain his grief later on. So Smith has said that he cut that because of the backlash everybody was having towards Jennifer Lopez, and it really compromised the emotional weight of the film. And he says if he was a more seasoned director, and if he was somebody who was also, he felt very vulnerable because he was putting forward a very personal story and he wanted it to really work well. So he listened to that backlash and cut parts of the movie out based on public opinion instead of going by what his artistic vision was. And he regrets that now, and he uses it as a learning experience in his career today. All right, your go.
My go. So, Kevin Smith named the main character of Ollie, who's played by Ben Affleck, because of work he was doing just before making this movie. Do you know the character that Ben Affleck's character is based off of? Well, the name.
Yes, I do. So he is named Ollie, which is named on Oliver Queen, which is Green Arrow. And I think he did that because he was writing some...
He was writing Green Arrow just before that. Yes, because Green Arrow is my top favorite DC character. So I got Green Arrow and Nightwing. They're my two favorite DC characters, both of which don't have powers.
Very good. Kevin Smith is famous for writing Marvel Knights as well with Joe Quesada. He's done heaps of Spider-Man and Black Cat stuff. And he's also done a bunch of Daredevil when he worked for Marvel. He's also a frequent DC comic book writer as well. And currently, in this day and age, in 2025, he's writing Archie comics. And most specifically, Archie meets Jay and Silent Bob. So very big in the comic scene, Kevin Smith. And I think he's even got a podcast where he talks about that kind of thing as well.
He very much so does, yes.
Yeah. All right, point for the pool. My turn. Okay. So this movie had a very different ending than what was portrayed on screen. And a very famous musician was meant to appear in the film, but ended up declining due to scheduling conflicts. Do you know who that musician was? And your clue is they have a very strong connection to New Jersey, and Kevin Smith is a big fan.
No, I know at one point Bruce Willis was meant to be in the role of Will Smith.
Yeah, that's
correct. They didn't, but I don't... That's what, when you said, there was someone else meant to be in the thing, I'm like, oh, is it the Bruce Willis one? But no, it's a musician that I have no idea who it is. Who is a New Jersey? One
of his songs features in the soundtrack, and he has a nickname known as The Boss.
Jeans, red fucking scarf hanging on the back of it. Fucking Bruce Springsteen.
Yes, it is. Bruce Springsteen was meant to have a cameo in this movie because the climax, instead of Ollie going and having a interview in his old job position, he was actually supposed to be going to a Bruce Springsteen concert, and in order to connect with some people there to potentially have a new job connection. And Bruce Springsteen was supposed to cameo. However, he declined due to scheduling conflicts, and he still allowed Kevin Smith to use imagery and music for his cinematic feature. So we almost had Bruce Springsteen in this movie, but we didn't end up doing it. And the end of the movie was subsequently changed. And I think the end of the movie works a little bit better because it actually defines the choice that Ollie had to make. You know, he's not going to this recreational concert. He's actually this lifelong dream that he's had to be a music producer or a PR agent, where he's worrying about how everybody else thinks of particular music artists and the position that he has in this position of power. He's worried about all of the different things that are happening there. He actually has to make a conscious choice to turn and pivot away from that and move further into fatherhood. And he did so through his conversation with Will Smith, noting that he is just a guy who wants to play in the mud with his kids. So I think that the ending worked a little bit better than what was originally planned. So unfortunate that Bruce Springsteen wasn't in the movie, but also fortunate for storytelling purposes. All right. That is a point to the kitty. Brash, it is your go.
Okay. Ooh, this one might be a little bit hard because it's going to test how closely you're watching, like looking at a particular scene. But in the video store, you see 4 videos that actually star both Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler. Can you name what those movies are?
Well, I know that Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler.
Well, there's not the ones where they're featuring together. They're just the ones.
Okay.
They're movies that they were in.
Right.
And I say if you get 2 out of the 4.
Well, was it Chasing Amy?
Chasing Amy? No, it wasn't Chasing Amy.
Wasn't Chasing Amy? Oh, Good Will Hunting. Yeah, also written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
And he actually in the movie Ollie is standing right next to another movie that he is in, a very poetic movie. Stars Jeffrey Rush and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, Shakespeare in Love.
Shakespeare in Love.
Yes, he only plays a small part in that one, I believe.
I mean,
Yeah, he plays Ned Allen in that one, or Ned Allen.
that was one of the other niche ones. There is one he stands like right next to. But
I'll just tell you some of the Liv Tyler movies I know. Lord of the Rings, 1, 2, and 3. Stealing Beauty.
Stealing Beauty, where she is predominantly on the cover of that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, Stealing Beauty. That one also stars Jeremy Irons in it as well. Yeah. And that's a bit of a mature film, you might say.
Yep. It's even got Rachel Weisz in it too.
Yeah.
But yes, so Stealing Beauty, Good Will Hunting, Phantoms was another one that was in the video store as well.
Yeah,
Phantoms was a video that you could see in the video store when they were looking around at all the videos.
That's one of Ben Affleck's first roles.
Yep. So they had a bit of product placement there for some of the movies that they were in.
Yeah.
Which I thought, I expected to see more.
Mm.
I thought I'd see a lot more of their films just like placed around that video store.
Yeah, especially with Kevin Smith's like attitude towards situational comedy like that. I would have thought the same. And also, I also liked in the movie when they're going to pick out a movie to rent and then Gertie picks up Men in Black.
Men in Black, Will Smith.
Yeah, and Ben Affleck's character Ollie says anything but that. She always wants to rent out Dirty Dancing. So I also loved seeing in this movie the harkening back to when we used to go to the video stores all the time. And also, not to be crass or anything like that, but when pornography films used to be on VHS tape in the back of video stores, never went into those areas, but I always wondered what was there. So, it's just crazy to see how times have changed. It's like a little time capsule. And that was in like 2004 as well. So that was only about, 21 years ago. Even that sort of scene has changed. But
yeah, they're all like sort of all 90s films. So, yeah, so like 1998 for Shakespeare in Love, 1997 for Good Will Hunting, 1998 for Phantoms, and then 1996 I think it was for Stealing Beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So early 90s film or mid-90s
films. Yeah. Which fit the time because that's the time period that they were in at
that's right.
The 80s, 90s. Yeah.
Exactly right. I don't think I get that one because I took too many clues. So for this week's Fandom Fact Face-Off, together we got 4 points, which is definitely above average, which is great, which means that we have 13 points total, meaning we need 12 more to go until this giveaway activates. Remember, if you wanted to be a part of the giveaway, join our mailing list, which is at www.fandomportalspodcast.com. And you can also find us on all our social medias, so you can come and check us out there too. All right, let's get into our Set Secrets segment. Set Secrets is where hosts look behind the scenes and focus on the movie to give you all the information on what went right, what went wrong, and what was interesting about the way the movie was made. A couple of things I want to talk about in this segment, Brash. One, of course, is the impact that Bennifer had on this movie, and the other is Kevin Smith's changing attitude towards this movie as time has gone on. I know you're an absolute fan of everything to do with celebrities, so why don't you give us all the information you have on Bennifer?
Okay, so when it comes to Bennifer,
I'm absolutely joking, listeners of the Fandom Portals podcast.
Yeah.
Brash staunchly doesn't really care.
do not care for celebrity bullshit.
Gossip.
Their
Yeah.
personal life is their personal life. I don't give a shit about it.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I think Kevin Smith, Ben Affleck, and Jennifer Lopez wished that everybody had the opinion that you had, because the Bennifer craze was a media oversaturation that happened in the early 2000s. It resulted in both of those actors, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, having their lives basically in the spotlight all the time from the paparazzi. It resulted in, a poor film choices from both actors, especially Ben Affleck, whose career took a nosedive during that time, especially for the movie that was Jiggly, which is a 2003 movie. It was an enormous critical box office failure, and it was really panned for its bad writing and the awkward chemistry between Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, which you wouldn't think would be the case, because if they're a couple in real life, the chemistry should be natural on set. We've seen that happen lots and lots of times as well. But it became a particular sort of punchline, you might say, which led people to think that, people were prioritizing fame over the quality of work. And we've seen that happen as well, where somebody is cast in a role because they're famous or they think they could sell the movie, more so than if they were actually a fitting part for the role. So Jiggly was an absolute bust, and the tabloid overload, you might say, between Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez's relationship it was literally the obsession of the 2000s. They were probably one of the first people that actually had a couple nickname, and that's been a trend that's gone on forever and ever, whether we like it or not. They were doing everything together, including the music video, Jenny from the Block. Do you remember that song, Brash? Jenny from the Block?
Yeah.
Yep. It was at every 2000 disco that you ever went to.
Yeah.
And it was an earworm for the longest time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was basically turning admiration into like a mockery. They were just everywhere. It was the time when the paparazzi were just going wild. They didn't really help themselves, because days before their 2003 wedding, Jennifer and Ben cancelled their wedding ceremony, saying that there was too much media attention, but then they officially broke up in 2004. So whether that was the real reason, and to be fair for them, it would be definitely hard to have a relationship in those kinds of environments, and a lot of it may or may not have been their fault. Relationships can do a lot for celebrity careers, but in this case, it did the precise opposite. So Jersey Girl was supposed to be a bit of a personal project for Ben to get back to his grounded roots. And it was also sort of not a favor to Kevin Smith, but he wanted to work with somebody he was familiar with and comfortable with, and just, slide back into acting through character and dialogue like he enjoyed. And he kind of got caught up in this Bennifer escapade. And as I said before, it kind of damaged the reputation of the film. I watched an interview with the producer of Jersey Girl, and he said that they did lots of test screenings for Jersey Girl and had lots of different versions with lots of different cuts of the film, whether some had a lot of Jennifer Lopez and some had not much of Jennifer Lopez. And he said, sometimes that the feedback you can get is kind of nuanced, so you can move your film around it to make it more audience accepted. But in this case, he said it was literally overwhelming. The not hatred's a bit of a strong word, but the disdain or the dislike for the character of Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck together on screen. They just thought it was another sort of sellout move where they were trying to put the hottest celebrity couple in a film together to sell more tickets and sell more movie-going experiences. So didn't help them out at all.
Yeah, no. It was a choice made.
I think so. And for Kevin Smith as well.
I think for him it probably would have been, because him and Ben Affleck are friends. So I think if he sort of, and as you said earlier, how he's made that choice, and he's looking back, I probably wouldn't have made that same choice, because sometimes you've got to just think about the product over sort of
the marketing of it.
Yeah. And how it's going to reflect on your friends being like Ben Affleck and that in it as well.
Mm.
And just sort of go with your gut on it and go with what you reckon.
Yeah, I think that I don't know if it affected their friendship, Smith.
I don't know. I was saying it wouldn't
Affleck.
friendship, but he would have done it to, to try and help their image of his friend Ben.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yes,
Whereas
exactly. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah, he said he probably should have, sorry, Ben, but we're going to not worry about your personal issues. We're going to try and make sure it's a good movie
put the movie out as it should be and have the story be told as it needs to be. Because, yeah, Kevin Smith has said, he made this movie for his daughter, and it was his kind of first grown-up film in quotation marks. It was the first one where he was moving away from his famous characters and his safety nets. So he was taking a bit of a risk, but Kevin Smith has also said that he thinks that Ben Affleck's performance was honest and also underrated by a lot of people. And I can see some scenes where the nuance of his performance definitely shows through. There are a few takes. I know that the scene where he is given the news that Gertrude has passed away, that was shot a lot of different times and he reacted in a lot of different ways. At one point, he got so physical in the performance that he ended up vomiting. And that was one of the ones where the test screen was shown to a public audience, and it was met with laughter, unfortunately. So with that, they decided to change that, and I think the performance that they landed on for that was nuanced enough to show the impact of it. But for me, it was what happened after that moment where he was completely disengaged from the child, where he was completely non-attending towards the child. He still had a business-minded attitude. He was basically trying to move on as if that thing in the room crying upstairs didn't exist, and that was the kind of underrated performance I think Kevin Smith is talking about with Ben Affleck, because it's sort of he was so committed to that part in that sort of way he was playing that it did sell off to me. And that was what I was talking about before in my hot takes segment, where I said I was just waiting for him to kind of catch up and realize that what he should be doing is looking after his daughter, which is exactly what George Carlin's character was telling him at the time as well. So, or his father as well. I think that it's definitely a shame, because there are lots of times when you can harness the massive public attention for a good reason for a movie. But in this case, I think it just got so wild so quick, and everybody was just sick of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez that it just didn't do any favors for the movie at all.
Like even like little things, like the whole time between sort of that part where his wife Gertrude dies, he just calls baby Gertrude just the baby.
Or the kid,
Or the kid. Yeah.
That's a really important
like
observation.
Not even by name. Yeah. Not even by name at all. It was more like an annoying thing than it was like an annoying distraction thing in the background rather than an actual child. And that was the part that I picked up. I'm like, he keeps calling it the baby and the kid.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's your daughter, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was done intentionally. Like, that's been pretty clever writing from Kevin Smith. Yeah. Because the moment he does call her Gertie, that's when he has that monologue with the baby where he starts to realize and open up and say how much that he did miss the baby's mother. And then at the end of that, he promised to do better. And then that's when we see him picking her up from school in the street sweeper.
The Batmobile.
Yeah, the Batmobile, which, funny story, he ended up driving a Batmobile.
Yeah.
As the new Batman. But I think that's when that was when his character took that turn. And then the 7 years where he dedicated himself to being a father was where we start him in that sort of story space as the new Ollie, and where his growth is going to happen from there. So it's almost a tale of two stories, him coming to terms with the fact that he needs to be a father and go through that grieving process. And then the second one is where his old life comes knocking at his door again. And is he going to value his old life or his new life again? I think that this was a genuine attempt for Kevin Smith to do an emotional piece of storytelling. And I think, honestly, that Affleck and Tyler and also George Carlin's performances weren't the cringiest things in the world. I've watched movies where you really can't just sit through the dialogue. I think this one was okay. The only time I felt embarrassed was during the times when Liv Tyler was being excessively forward. Yeah, around that kind of thing. But yeah, I think I stand with Kevin Smith where he says he wishes he stood by the movie that he made, and he might have had something stronger in terms of Jersey Girl. But, sometimes you can't fight bad publicity. They say publicity is good and bad, and any publicity is good publicity, but in this case, it definitely was not.
But yeah, we're watching it again. You can see where he was going with it. You can it is in essence like a beautiful story about thing. But for me, I don't know, it means to be me because I love Kevin Smith and everything as well. But if you're going to watch a movie about, well, they probably copied it off of Jersey Girl, actually, to be honest. But Kevin Smith's movie from 2019, I think it was, Fatherhood, where his wife dies and he is then stuck looking after the child and has to try and deal with that. And I was like watching Jersey Girl, and I'm like, this is like what would be like the prototype to what fatherhood is.
Oh yeah, the Kevin Hart movie.
Oh, sorry, did I say Kevin Smith?
Yeah, you did. Kevin Hart.
Sorry, Kevin Hart movie.
Yeah, directed by Paul Weitz. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I remember that one.
I remember I watched Fatherhood, and I was like, I think it made me cry when I watched it. Or maybe tear up at least. I don't really cry too often in movies, more in anime. But anyway,
I will admit I cried in this movie when I watched it again for the podcast. I cried at the end when you know, he realizes and they're together and they're doing the play together and that kind of thing like that. That made me cry, I'll admit.
No, it didn't hit me that hard.
No, I'm just a big baby, aren't I?
Yeah, but yeah, fatherhood. Yeah, so I think like you could probably, this would be in like the building blocks for what the I reckon fatherhood movie is.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I think it's some of the inspiration for it, and even it's got common themes, you know, where a father and
Mother
I actually
away.
I wonder how mothers would view this movie. You know how the fathers are having a really hard time being a single father, and
like all the stay-at-home moms and shit, like
yeah,
yeah,
it's
we
like
have to deal with
not
this
so,
shit anyway, no matter what.
exactly, not so. Yeah, when you're at work, that's my life. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exactly why I need to thank Kalia more, because she does this. Like, I'm not an absent father by any means, but
yeah,
she definitely does a lot of the hard yards and a lot of the heavy lifting in that space. But that we've definitely digressed from the set secrets, but we'll go into our most valuable takeaways now. All right, this is the heart and soul of the podcast, where we break down the one thing that hit hardest, stuck longest, or taught us something new from what we just watched. It is our moment to spotlight the takeaway that made us think, feel, or see things differently. This is what we learned from Jersey Girl 2004. So I talked to you about my most valuable takeaway before, Brash. It is pretty much that I wanted to talk about something that was a little bit universal, because we know that the underlying message to this is Ben Affleck's character, Ollie, learning that being a father is more important than any kind of aspirational job that he might go for, and some of the real journey and growing that he will go on can be done through that journey of parenting. But I think that for me, the thing that hit the hardest was that true love isn't about molding someone into your world, like getting his whole family to fit into his world in New York, but it's about stepping into others' world or stepping into New Jersey, quirks and all. So it doesn't look as glamorous in New Jersey. It's not as high profile. There's not as many people patting you on the back, but you will be fulfilled in a completely different and new way by embracing the quirks of what you have and what brings you joy, rather than seeking joy and approval from others. That was kind of my most takeaway from this. And I think it comes most poignantly in the scene where Ollie is willing to embrace Gertie's individuality by, you know, at first she wanted to do a Cats musical, but once she went and saw the Sweeney Todd musical, she wanted to do the song God That's Good from Sweeney Todd in her musical. And, you know, as a father, you have two options there. You could say, oh, honey, that's not really appropriate, age appropriate audience, you know, really sort of squash that creativity and that drive that she has. Or you could do what Ollie did and get the whole family together to rehearse, get everybody involved in the musical, really embrace and surround her for her idea, love her unconditionally and accept her for the individual and special nature that she obviously has. She's weird, she's quirky, but she's unapologetically her, and he's being a father who embraces that about her. So it doesn't have to be a father-daughter relationship where that happens. It can be any relationship where you're really just, you know, finding what really makes someone who they are and loving them for that person, or just at least allowing them to be that person in your presence without judgment. That's what I took from this movie, as sort of like a universal lesson.
Yeah. And yeah, when you're telling me about it, I'm like, damn, that is a good take on it. My take was just don't fall in love, don't have children. Just no, that is a horrible take, and don't do that. If you can find love, do it.
I think that love comes in many forms.
If you want to be rich and famous, don't have children and don't have a family.
Well, that's kind of what he unintentionally learns, isn't it? But yeah, I think that it also goes back to what we were talking about in our Ready or Not episode, where Ollie's not really trying to fit in, as it were. He's not trying to be polished in his role in New Jersey as father and street sweeper. And I think he's happiest or happier in those years where he's doing a job that pays very little recognition from anybody other than himself and his father. And his daughter loves him for it unconditionally.
Yeah.
Like, that's a relationship.
The fact that he pulls up in a street sweeper and she's so excited about that.
Exactly. In front of a prep school by the look of it too.
Yeah. And for me, if I would be embarrassed to pick up my kids from school in a street sweeper, but then if I pulled up and I'd be embarrassed, but if I looked out and I saw my daughter running towards me with that smile on her face,
yeah,
I would be, I'll be like, you know what?
The rest doesn't matter.
Pretty fucking cool.
Exactly right. Yeah. I think it's easy to place our expectations on our kids as well, like, or even everybody else, you know, and that's just pressuring, and it makes it harder and for the kids to be and grow up who they are and have that sort of self-confidence to be themselves in a space and have them not lean into peer pressure and things like that. But it's far more rewarding to lean into and embrace anybody as their full self. And she definitely exhibited that when she performed the Sweeney Todd musical with everybody that loves her as well, even those uncles that weren't really her uncles.
His uncles.
Yeah. Those men are not related to you. Yeah. I think he definitely learns as well. You know, he chooses love over image, and he chooses being authentic in his life as opposed to being in control of where his career is going. And all of those things, I think, are really beautiful undertones in the movie of Jersey Girl that can be celebrated. And, you know, it just goes to show that letting go of how things should be can sometimes be the first step towards a more meaningful life. And a meaningful life may not look how you pictured it in the first place. It may actually be something that takes you by surprise. So that's what I took from this movie of Jersey Girl. And I know it has a lot of very clear messaging, but I tried to go with something a little bit more sort of subtle that could be taken for everybody, not just sort of fathers and parents in this instance. So yeah, you ready to rate it?
I'm ready to rate it.
All right, let's rate it. This is the Fandom Portals Honor Board. It's time to rate it and rank it. Each host has 5 stars to give this movie out of 5 categories: story and script, characters and performance, direction and tone, visuals and soundtrack, and our overall enjoyment. If it hit the mark, hosts award a star. If it didn't, hosts keep the star. If it was almost great but missed the mark, it gets awarded half a star. By the end of the segment, each host will have their own score for the movie out of 5, and then we take the average and put it on our official Letterboxd Honor Board list. If you want to look at our Honor Board list, you can find it and track our rankings anytime, which is at Fandom Portals on Letterboxd. All right, Brash. I'm going to start with the story in the script. I think this had some emotional messaging. It's pretty genuine in its take. It explores ambition versus fatherhood with sincerity. I do think that it's a bit simple in its narrative and it lacks strong dramatic stakes or any kind of structure in that sort of space. As I said before, it's a story played out in 2 parts, and you can obviously tell that some cuts had been done through that space too. The dialogue seems authentic, but there is also times where it seems a little bit dated for this age. So for those reasons, I'm going to give it half a star.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. I'm of the similar mind. Also half a star for me, as I think more so like the story, and even it being simple is fine. And the story is a beautiful story. One that like I wish, like I think in Kevin's mind the original like vision he had for it, I think is one of absolute beauty. But yes, unfortunately, I think due to parts getting cut out, and also the speed in which some of the story is played through, I think dulls it down to a half star.
That's a point too. I think it's just over 90 minutes, isn't it, this one? And it does go through quite a big sort of portion of it. And I also find that the act structure is a little bit unconventional, but the last act I think is a little bit rushed too. It just seems to all happen very, very quickly. So I agree.
Quickly.
And then also the beginning act as well is rushed through, which is like Kevin Smith has said he cut a lot out of the beginning, and that really detracts from the relationship of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, which then lessens the stakes and emotional impact of her passing. So yeah, I think half a star is pretty good and generous for us here. All right, let's go into characters and performance. So for me, it was Raquel Castro that stood out the most as the child actor. She was annoying as a 7-year-old should be, but she got into that stage as 7-year-olds do where they start to figure out that adults are sometimes full of shit. And she portrayed that pretty well. She was able to be emotional in times when she needed to be emotional, but obviously there were times when her acting and also the acting of others around her sort of lacked. So Ben Affleck gave some passable and nuanced performance in parts, but I think it was kind of inconsistent. And same as Liv Tyler as well, and George Carlin. They all, the chemistry between them all worked, but the depth is kind of limited in this. So half a star for me as well.
No star for me from this. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy Ben Affleck as an actor, Liv Tyler as an actor, but it just, it was hard to, I found it hard to believe them.
Actually, that is a good point as well. Their chemistry together, Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck.
Armageddon was way better.
Yes, 100% better. And I think that one came before this. It did, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
So they had history.
Yeah,
they had history, but it just didn't seem to click or work.
And I think that might be what the reason why is, because they've had that history. The chemistry in this one is more. It seems more friendly.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
More as like they're just pals than they're meant to be romantically involved.
Yeah, I think that might have been a intentional choice for Kevin Smith, because I don't think he wanted Liv Tyler's character of Maya to be the romantic launch pad, you might say, for Ben Affleck's new life as a single dad looking for love. I think he wanted to keep the story focused on a father-daughter relationship.
I think initially that the Maya character was going to be portrayed by Joey Lauren Adams.
Oh.
But then he's like, oh no, I can't do that because then it's going to be two chasing Amy.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually think there was another actor he had in mind as well. I've forgotten who, but she was very short.
Eliza
Dushku. Eliza Dushku.
She was my crush when I was a teenager. She is from the cheerleader movie.
Bring It On. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, she was in Buffy.
Faith.
Yep, she was Faith in Buffy. Yep.
She most poignantly plays She-Hulk in a lot of different Marvel projects.
The voice of? Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, they were going to get Eliza Dushku, but she stands at a 5'0" and would have looked childlike next to Ben Affleck's 6'3" physique. And
also there's an even bigger guy because she was born in 1980.
Yep.
So she's even 3 years younger than what Liv Tyler is. And then Liv Tyler was born in 77 and Ben Affleck's 73.
That's good memory, dude. That's exactly point on.
Yeah.
How the fuck did you do that? 72 for Ben Affleck, but
72?
Yeah. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So that would have been an even bigger sort of age gap there.
Yeah.
What, 8 years or something? That's not too bad.
Let's go to direction and tone. So for me, for this one, he softens his usual style, Kevin Smith does. It's heartfelt as opposed to comedic. It's steady. It's not really flashy. It's commendable what he tried to do, but it's not really cinematic, and he compromised on his vision. So I'm tossing up between 0 and half a star for this one. I think for the tone, it does have a nice warm tone throughout. I'm probably going to give it 0.
I'm going to give it a half star.
Okay.
Because I think for me, the acting was complimented because of the tone. Because as much as I didn't like, as much as the actors fell short for me, I think the scenes and the just the effects of how they shot it made up for it. Looking at the backdrops of New Jersey,
the cityscapes,
but you see the different, they show the difference. New York was always flashier and clean, and then New York always looked rougher and more downgraded.
Jersey did,
to show the two parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the direction they went that way that sort of helped with the acting.
Yeah, with the next one that we're going to do with visuals and sounds, I feel like those contrasting images of New Jersey and New York really played into the aesthetic of the film, to the point where even though New Jersey looked like it was roughed up, it was almost like the diamond in the rough, you know what I mean? Or the caramel center to the rough outside. That's what you find in New Jersey. And we know that Kevin Smith has a very big affinity for New Jersey as a setting. A lot of his movies are set there. And then New York as well, being flashy and shiny on the outside. Even the status of Ollie Trinky's character, where he wears these suits, his hair's always done. He's in a room full of people that are always smiling, dressed to the nines, but true happiness evades him. So I think that visual connection was pretty good. I think that the score was pretty, I don't know. There's not much I can really write home about the score. The one song that kind of hit me was the Fleetwood Mac song that was playing.
Yeah.
I forgot what that one's called. Landslide.
Landslide.
That was one that sort of resonated emotionally with me. So I think I'll probably give visuals and sound half a star, just for that juxtaposition of the two cities mirroring the character's journey, and also for the inclusion of the song Landslide in a very pivotal and poignant moment. So what about you for visuals and sound?
Again, going on to the tone of it, I think the visuals helped with the tone of the movie. As I was saying before, with the differences between New Jersey and New York, I like the basicness of it. So like you got like the New Jersey was the streets, you had the sort of the front visual of the school, you had the father's house, you had the bar and the movie store. Those were the New Jersey places. And then New York places was all the high rises, the
Board
big
meeting
apartments, and all the flashy board meetings and stuff, and the Will Smith showing that they had, and then with all the, though I do one thing I want to point out, when they did when they had all the reporters there for Will Smith, like looking at that crowd of reporters, all those reporters looked like they came from New Jersey.
Yeah, and you know what? All those reporters in that crowd also looked like all of the disgruntled New Jerseyans when they were going to fix the pothole too. So those extras were obviously rehired for the same mob scene, you might say.
Looking at it, I'm like, and like how they acted, I was like, that's not real. But hey, yeah. So for me, I also half a star. Yeah, like the music. I wish, because usually in like Chasing Amy, like there's good, like really good music in Chasing
Soundtrack, yeah.
The soundtrack, I thought was I was hoping it would be a little bit better than what it was, but it wasn't. Still wasn't too bad.
Yep. Okay. And lastly, let's go for overall enjoyment and rewatchability. I don't think a rewatch for me is essential. It's definitely not one of Ben Affleck's best films. It's gentle and sincere in its watch for me. It's good for parents and for that messaging. But I think for me, if I was going to watch a Kevin Smith film and even a Ben Affleck film, I probably wouldn't put this one on. That being said, I did for its emotional messaging and the fact that I do like watching George Carlin in this, and I think I'll give it half a star for enjoyment.
Yeah. Look, I'm probably never gonna watch this movie again, to be honest.
Yep.
I actually kind of got excited about watching it again because I'm like, I haven't seen Liv Tyler in ages and anything. I'm like, this last time I saw it was in, how I was telling you, I was watching that, what was it, Lone Star 911, where she plays one of the medical first responders. So I was really excited, and then after watching it, I was like, all right.
Yeah, that was a thing.
That was the thing I just did.
Yep.
That was 90 minutes or something. So for me, because this is something probably more personal with Kevin about something very specific, it's probably not targeted towards someone like me.
Yep.
It's for enjoyment. So yeah, but I'd have to give it 0 stars because for me, like, had no emotional sort of
buy-in
for me. Yeah, it didn't tug on any emotional strings for me because I don't have children or wives to worry about. So
I think that leaves you with a total of 1.5 stars, and it gives me a total of 2 stars. So let's see where it sits on our Fandom Portals honor board. So with 1.75, we have a new last place movie.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so Red One, which is currently at 20, starring The Rock and Chris Evans. It got an average of 2 from both of us. And this one here will score 1.75. So it is currently our Razzie winner. Jersey Girl gets to be the last place in the... Sorry, Kevin Smith. We'll have to do another Kevin Smith movie to make it up to him.
Oh, if we do Dogma, it's fine.
Oh, well. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be good. But yeah, this one here definitely sits at our 21 spot at 1.75 for Jersey Girl. All right, let's get into our sign-offs. If you liked this episode, make sure you go and tell a friend. Guys, it's the best thing that you can do for small podcasts like us. Word of mouth is the greatest marketing tool that you could ever do. If you wanted to get some more of the Fandom Portals action, you can do so at www.fandomportalspodcast.com. And while you're there, you can sign up to our mailing list where you'll be the first to learn about any giveaways. And we also do a monthly newsletter, just one email a month, and you will be the first one to know about any of our giveaways, and you'll be eligible to enter them all. We don't do any flashy tricks here at the Fandom Portals Podcast. If you join our mailing list, you're in the running for a giveaway. So if you wanted to have any of your opinions read out on our podcast, you can do so by joining our Threads, Instagram, or Reddit communities, which is at Fandom Portals. Next week, we have an interview with Michael Papaleftero, who is an Australian filmmaker, and he is going to teach us how to make a professional film from scratch. He is currently doing the film festival circuit for one of his short films called Crossroads. And we got to chat with him and sit down and learn everything that he has to teach us about filmmaking. So that's what's coming next. That's it from me, Aaron. Keep learning, keep growing, keep loving fandoms, Brash.
Thanks everyone for coming by and listening to us, or me mainly, ramble on. And I appreciate every single one of you.